So today I'm just gonna react to a video regarding Mark Zuckerberg called to testify in Facebook parent Meta's antitrust trial. So this trial is something that the company Meta, aka owned by Mark Zuckerberg, so you can just say Mark Zuckerberg is his company, had this issue since I think 2021. It's already been a while with this situation. What I think what's going on with the court, they're basically trying to break the company because Mark Zuckerberg has a whole monopoly on multiple companies. He owns WhatsApp, Instagram, what used to be Facebook, aka Meta, it's the official name of the company now. He owns a lot of these things. It is a monopoly of social media platforms, literally. So if I'm not mistaken, he bought off Instagram and WhatsApp. I don't think he created those. He created Facebook, aka Meta, but now those two, I think those two he just bought them. Similar to Elon Musk buying off Tesla. Uh, you can argue that he was one of the co-founder ish. At some point, it's the history of Tesla's a little bit complicated there, but he ended up buying it completely. Obviously, Elon Musk also bought Twitter, aka X. He changed the name to X officially. He didn't own it. So this is a situation with Mark Zuckerberg owning WhatsApp, Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a trial that's been on since again 2021. It's been what 4 years. So I just want to watch this video from CBS News. This is CBS News website. This is from April 14, 2025, and we'll see a little bit details about the situation. Current updates.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is testifying today in the antitrust lawsuit filed by the Federal Trade Commission. In day one of the trial that could result in the company's breakup. The FTC is accusing Zuckerberg's company of creating a monopoly and stifling competition by purchasing Instagram along with WhatsApp.
Yeah, it is a monopoly. The antitrust lawsuit makes sense. The antitrust lawsuit demonstrates that technically Mark Zuckerberg has a monopoly, something I mentioned earlier. Because he doesn't just own Facebook that he created, he also bought off WhatsApp and Instagram. That's a whole social media platforms, two more that shouldn't be owned by one individual. It is a monopoly. It's a big issue.
Meta says the purchases were necessary to compete with other popular apps like TikTok and YouTube. Let's bring in CBS News senior business and technology correspondent Jolene Kent. Jolene, what's standing out to you so far from what we're hearing from Zuckerberg and what prosecutors are asking him?
Well, it's really about the origins of Facebook and later Meta and who owns the company, how it works when it comes to connecting people together and friending, as it were. You might remember all those friend requests from back in the day.
Yeah, so the thing is, regarding this, as much as Mark Zuckerberg wants to argue that he needed to buy Instagram and WhatsApp to be up to date and compete with YouTube and TikTok, I think that's BS. He just wants to have a monopoly. I didn't say him having Meta, Facebook. I don't have an issue with that. He created that. That's his social media platform. I get it. But buying other companies so you can own them and have a huge social media platform, two social media platforms to make more money, and you claim that's just to stay competitive is just wrong. You just have a monopoly. And that's not right. And he should, technically the company should be broken up. I don't think it should be owned by him only. That's a problem.
So essentially, you've heard both the opening statements from the FTC, which is alleging that Facebook illegally is operating in a monopoly situation here by purchasing Instagram and WhatsApp. And the lawyer for the FTC said, quote, that basically Meta, formerly Facebook, decided the competition was too hard. It would be easier to buy out rivals rather than compete with them.
Yeah, and that's what you have issues of monopolies because then you own those competitors, and now you have a huge monopoly. I'm gonna give you an example. I used to work for Ally Universal. Ally Universal is a security company. It's a private security company. They provide security services to companies in need. So I used to work at Ferris Ground Warehouse in a location nearby where I live. This is why it's been quite a few years since the last time I worked there. I think it's been 4 years since I work in securities. I used to have two full-time jobs at one point. But what Ally Universal was doing, they were it's a billion-dollar company. They bought off almost all their competition. Many companies that used to be security that used to compete with Ally and provide more they also provide security service, but provide comparative pricing so that the private companies or private bodies um, can afford to have the security services at their buildings or warehouses, whatever the case may be. Now they basically allowed them to disappear, at least in the US. Allied Universal bought a whole bunch of them. And they kept the employees or fired some of them. So what a lot of times happen when they bought off the companies, they get rid of some employees or move them around to other areas in need. And then they also tend to pay people less. Some people complain how they used to make $20 or more with the previous security company. Now they're making 13, 15 at that time. The minimum wage was less where I live. So at that time, you could pay someone like 10, 12, $13 an hour was fine. So it's interesting seeing all these places being owned by Allen Universal, all these security companies. And that's how you have a monopoly. You're based off competition. Now you have no competition. And you can basically charge as much as you want. And you're the only option for majority of contracts it would make was for security services. It's a smart thing to do. I just don't agree with it. It's not good for consumers in the long term.
So that's the position of the FTC. Now, Meta also had its opening statements as well, and they denied these allegations as they have the entire time since this case was brought back in President Trump's first administration. They say they face plenty of competition from TikTok and YouTube, X, Apple's iMessage, and beyond. And they say that if they lose this particular case, it will be unwinding the FTC's decision, the government's decision from back in the day, allowing the purchase of Instagram, the purchase of WhatsApp. But essentially,
That can be an argument. I can see the point of view of Mark Zuckerberg and his lawyers in making that. Technically, they allow those purchases. FTC could have stopped that if they really thought it would be a monopoly. So that is a tricky situation. I don't agree with a single billionaire owning so many different companies. There are a lot of issues I have with Musk owning a bunch of companies of all types of services, products, different concentration of fields, like SpaceX, focusing a lot on obviously space endeavors. It's a lot of things that can cause a lot of monopolies. I don't fully agree with that. I understand only one company. It's when it's only multiple because they're buying off your competition is an issue. But the argument makes sense that they could stop this before and they didn't. So it's a tough situation. It's hard to know how this will go through. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Zuckerberg wins in the end.
what we have here is the star witness, Mark Zuckerberg, being called to the stand on the first day. He's explaining and answering questions. And the idea, the whole core of this is about who owns and operates this company and whether or not it's monopolistic behavior.
I will argue it is as it is a monopoly, monopolistic behavior or evidence of, because it is a monopoly. It is, pretty or arguably one. This is not just we are not just talking about matter. If they try to break up matter, I could see the argument against that. But they talk about WhatsApp and Instagram that he also owns, and it is three different social media platforms that he controls and makes profit out of it with less competition. I don't think WhatsApp is really competing much against TikTok or YouTube. It's a different purpose. Apple messaging, sure, you can argue that. Now Google messaging, sure, but you cannot use WhatsApp like really that deeply against TikTok or YouTube. Now Instagram, yeah, it's a comparator with YouTube, TikTok, and other similar platforms. I get that, but it's a tough one. Uh, in terms of my mentality is not because I agree with a single billionaire owning multiple companies. It's more that the purchase was allowed, but maybe they realized a mistake, the FTC, and that's why they're trying to change their mind. But it's a tough one. This is a trial that's been this lawsuit trial has been going on for a few years already.
So for the consumer, why does this matter to you? Well, it will ultimately determine who will own the social media apps that you're spending time on and what those apps do, the innovation behind them, the ad revenue, the targeting of the ads to get you to buy stuff. This is what it's about because at the end of this, it is possible that Meta could be forced to spin off, say, Instagram or WhatsApp, depending on the situation, or everything could stay the same, Lindsay.
That's a trick situation. For people who make money, in particular from Facebook Marketplace or Instagram videos, pictures, it could be a trick situation. Someone else owns it. They could mess up the algorithm of those social media platforms. They could mess up how the way to make money is executed. So the policies could change. And that could mess up a lot of, especially small creators who are making money out of that. People use WhatsApp all the time to communicate internationally. I do with my family back in Brazil, or when I'm in another country, traveling in another country. WhatsApp is helpful in that regard. I prefer Discord. It's more my preference. I like Discord way more than WhatsApp. But most people international, I know they use WhatsApp, including my family in Brazil. So it's a trick situation. This could cause an issue for most of the small creators that I'm thinking of could be impacted by this, potentially in a negative way, depending who owns it and how they will run the operations of those businesses.
Your experience covering this beat, how difficult are antitrust cases to prove? Like, what are prosecutors up against in here in order to get to their ultimate goal, which is to have Meta spin those off?
I've been talking to antitrust lawyers today, and one of the biggest things that has jumped out is that this is all about documents that are presented, probably by the FTC, and then the way that Meta responds to them, in addition to the testimony from Zuckerberg and former CEO Sheryl Sandberg. And we are also likely to hear from the founder of Instagram, Kevin Systrom, among several other people. So the idea here is, what was the intent and how?
So let's see. FTC argues Meta bought Instagram $1 billion and WhatsApp $19 billion to maintain a monopoly and eliminate competition. FTC wants to force Meta to break off Instagram and WhatsApp, which is understanding. I understand the point of view of FTC. They definitely bought off a huge competition of two other social media platforms to be able to make more of a profit in the long term. It was a more of a long term potential profit growth they would have. So this is a tricky one. They did fairly bought those two companies. They spent $1 billion on Instagram, $19 billion on WhatsApp. Kind of tough for me to say, why they should, break off when FTC was seemed to have been okay with back then. It's a tricky one. This is something for the lawyers in the comment section. If any of you who are watching this are lawyers, let me know your point of view on this and if FTC really has a strong case against Meta, or if Meta is the one has a strong case against allegations of FTC.
Will it be interpreted by the judge? Now, of course, there's been so many cases brought when it comes to antitrust behavior over the last several years by both Trump and Biden's administrations, their DOJs, their FTCs. So we will see what ultimately plays out here, but this is certainly a landmark case. It's very important. It will help determine what happens with other cases down the line, but you can bet that Mike.
Yeah, I have to agree with her. I do think this would be a landmark case because whatever decision they make, they can use this as precedent of why they will make the other decision in the future. So it matters. At least for the ones that are following precedents and actually care about the law and how it's being interpreted, because interpretation matters a lot. So we will see.
Meta is fighting with every single tool they have, as is the FTC, to try to win this. But there's a lot of proof that has to be explained and made compelling to the judge here through evidence.
That judge, Judge James Boasberg, of course, people may remember he's been in the news quite a bit the last few weeks. Jolene Kent, thanks so much.
That's right. Thank you.
Our next guest star.
All right. I definitely do agree. This is something that the judge will have to figure it out and determine if FTC really has all the proof needed to show that Mark Zuckerberg and his company Meta committed a monopoly. Is it a monopoly? I will argue that yes, it can be seen as one, but I still don't understand why the purchase was completely fine before and why into 2021, this whole lawsuit happened from FTC. You could argue it was whoever was the president at that time and they didn't want to go after Meta at that point, but this is a big deal. You'll see how it goes. I'm just gonna scroll down so people can see a little bit of the article. I'm not gonna really read it because I watched the video, and that's really was the main thing I want to do. I was scrolling down so you guys can pause and read. This will be in my description, so even if you don't read it now, you can read it later. It's not like I'm gonna remove or not place this in my description, but that's really it for today. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with FTC lawsuit, claiming that Mark Zuckerberg and his company Meta implement a monopoly by buying Instagram and WhatsApp. So they has their competition. Or if you disagree with FTC lawsuit, and if you think Mark Zuckerberg and Meta are correct, that they need to buy those two companies, Instagram and WhatsApp, to stay competitive with the main competitors, Google, uh, Apple, potentially Microsoft, Elon Musk, with the Twitter, and among others. That can be an argument. I especially want to hear from anyone who's a lawyer. If you're a lawyer watching this, really let me know if this is a field that you really specialize on, maybe monopolies. I'd like to hear your thoughts because this is beyond me. I don't have much knowledge on that. All right, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. If you're watching this on TikTok, follow us on TikTok, and I hope everyone has a good day.